Welcome to Career Tools. This week, Personal Weakness Risk Assessment and Mitigation, Part 2. The questions this cast answers are: how do I assess the risk that my weaknesses cause? How do I mitigate my weaknesses? And how do I change my weaknesses into strengths?
Folks, for those of you who are licensees, I have some good news for you. We've made our decision about how to handle our 16th anniversary coming up on 26 June of this year. We have been providing some additional services in our license this year to help support you during the coronavirus and the lockdowns at no additional charge. At the end of the year, when you might think, okay, the 15th anniversary series promotion is over, we've decided to extend it after a fashion. First of all, if you're a licensee on 30 June, which is the launch date also of Executive Tools, which will start on 30 June, your license will continue to include the interviewing series, First Job Fundamentals, and the Resume Workbook. That'll all become a permanent part of licenses. We added them to help the community last year. We heard from so many of you, we just decided it was the right thing to do. Speaking of the interviewing series, folks, by the way, if you know someone who is struggling in their job search, we do still have some sponsored interviewing series, which will be given free of charge to those of you, whom you refer to us. Those things which have historically been part of the license: interview creation tool, roadmap, Trinity rollout emails, 3 random things, and things I think will continue to be included. We're also adding transcript search for licensees. So if you're a licensee, you'll be able to come to the website. You'll be able to search through all of our show notes, for both Manager Tools, Career Tools, and Executive Tools once we get it started. And you'll also be able to search for audio from the transcript. You'll be able to type in a string and you'll get results, and you'll be able to hear the audio if you're trying to remember an obscure story I might have told you. And as I mentioned, Executive Tools, our first cast will drop on 30 June. We're excited about this. We continue to add more value to license. If you're not a licensee, I encourage you strongly to become one. It's worth it. So come and see us and check out the website, and I hope you become a licensee. Thanks.
So Sarah, last week you and I talked about weaknesses and creating a list of our weaknesses, and everybody's had a week, so I'm sure they've got 100 things now. So now we're going to tell them what to do with that list.
Absolutely. Now that we've got our lists out in front of us, we're going to start by assessing our risk. We're going to review each one of the weaknesses on our list and assess what the risk of failure is that weakness potentially causes. Now, we don't want to spend hours upon hours coming up with an incredibly scientific or precise risk assessment. Just put them all into one of these broad main categories. So first, is the danger serious to my career now? Or is it serious to my career prospects? Number 3 then, is it dangerous to my career now and or my career prospects? Number 4 then is it annoying but not dangerous? And the last, not annoying and not dangerous.
Those are the best because we're not going to work on them.
Yeah, right.
But we'll start with the worst one, which is serious danger to your career right now. So anything that's causing serious danger to your career needs to be addressed right now. And that's anything, if you've been put on a performance improvement plan, or somebody said to you, do that one more time and you'll be fired, or something where you've been given a warning and you're told you're on your last warning, actually, even if you've had any warning.
Yeah, I would agree.
Or somewhere where you're on the edge of what's acceptable. So if you have to make 20 sales in a month that you're at 19 and it's, the 28th of the month and in a month that's got 31 days, that's serious danger right now.
Yes.
If you have to put in your paperwork by the 15th and, somebody has said, if you're late one more time, we're going to fire you. Or if you are on a performance improvement plan that says you must get that paperwork in on time, then that's danger. If it's the 14th and you have to get it in on the 15th, Like you've got 24 hours, then that's serious danger right now. That's something you need to address right now. Because in almost all of these cases, the target is super clear, especially if you're on a do that once and you're fired, or you're on a performance improvement plan. Those are usually very specific things that you have to do and when. And the risk is really clear too. Do that or lose your job.
Right. And they're not those ones that you're like, oh, I don't know if this is a risk. I mean, if you have one of these, it's a conversation that's been happening over weeks or potentially months or more. You will be aware of it. Now, that is not to say that a boss won't up and fire you with no notice based on one of your weaknesses. And we at Manager Tools can't plan for stupid. It happens, but hopefully you'll be vividly aware of your serious danger.
Yeah. Yeah. So if that's where you are, start doing something about it right now.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So the next category is serious danger to career prospects. So that's something that will prevent you getting to the immediate next step or a step that you want to make in the short term. So that might be passing certain exams, or an inability to give negative feedback, or an inability to say no to customers, or a lack of time or project management skills. A weakness with numbers if numbers are important.
Yeah, right.
It's all right. You can get away with that. Or presentations.
Absolutely. Like if you want to be a manager, you got to be able to manage your time and give your presentations. You don't have to be great at it, but you can't be inadequate at it. And a lack of relationships can be really damaging here. You need support in order to move up in the organization, to get those promotions, to even hear many times about those opening job opportunities on other teams. And if you don't have relationships and no one's supporting you, your career is going to plateau.
Yeah. If you've ever heard about interviews happening for a job you would have wanted, and you've heard about it after the interviews, you don't have good enough relationships.
Exactly.
Okay, so the next one is danger to your career now or your career prospects. So that's it's a significant weakness, but it's not one that's causing an immediate or short-term threat. So it's not one that, you're about to be fired for. So presentations might be still a weakness, but if your next step is a team lead rather than a manager,
right,
then you've got time to learn how to do presentations before you want to make the step between team lead and manager. Team leads in general aren't expected to be great at presentations, so you've got time to learn how to do that.
Right, it's just not first priority. Next up then is annoying but not dangerous, which covers those skills and abilities where our weaknesses slow us down, but they don't slow us down to the point of limiting our career. So, for example, we talked about Wendy's inability to work well with numbers. I mean, we know it. At Manager Tools, we know it. Wendy talks about it, and we giggle about it when she does math on a call. And everyone's like, oh, Wendy doing math. Funny Wendy. And it's annoying. I'm sure it's incredibly annoying. I mean, I'm not great at internal mental arithmetic either. And what it means is extra time, right? She's got to have spreadsheets or calculations or somebody else running their eyes by the things that she does. But she's not an accountant. Her job isn't about numbers. So there's no real danger in career terms. I mean, yeah, it's annoying, but she's not an accountant.
Thinking about accountants I've known, a lot of them aren't good at math, like internal arithmetic. That's not really what accountants are about. But anyway, that's the thing. But yeah, I mean, and there's plenty of things like relationships is not one of these in annoying but dangerous things.
Right.
Relationships are so essential to your career that they're in the danger zone. But annoying is I can't spell, or I'm not great with technology, or I tend to talk too much and not manage my time well, but I'm still meeting all my deliverables, right? It's something you want. Sometimes it's something you want to improve because it will make life better in general. And we're going to talk about mitigation in a minute. Sometimes it's things where you can put something in place that stops it being a hindrance. but it's not something that's dangerous.
Right. Exactly. That takes us then to the not annoying and not dangerous category. And these are the weaknesses that you know are weaknesses, but don't hinder you in your day-to-day working life whatsoever. Like, you might be bad with foreign languages. I mean, I am terrible with French, and I want to know French so bad.
And you live next to Quebec.
I know, I'm the worst. I'm a Canadian. I should know French. And my job doesn't call for me to speak French. I mean, it would be really cool if I could go and I could present in Belgium and I could speak French. But I don't need to. It's not a weakness that's going to affect my career in any way, shape, or form. It would be cool to know French, but it doesn't affect me.
Do they speak French in Belgium?
They do.
Flemish and Walloon.
Walloon is a language?
I think so. We're going to get emails now from people.
I know, we totally are. Please tell us. We want to know.
Right? Yeah. I should know I'm European. It's terrible. The same weaknesses, like a weakness that you might name, it can have different risks depending on your strengths and the situation. So, for example, if you have a weakness around communicating status, like you're one of those people that when somebody says, have you updated the status spreadsheet? You say, do you want me to do the work or do you want me to report on it?
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever say that.
Don't say that. It's annoying.
No. It might not matter if you're sitting with your team and somehow there's a way for them to know what your status is. One of my friends does insurance processing, and basically she just has a pile of paper. If the pile of paper next to her is only an inch high, she's ahead of time. If it's 6 inches high,
it's not good.
It's not good. So everybody knows what everybody else's status is based on the pile of paper. And so it's not a problem, right? But if you're working from home and nobody can see the work you're doing and they need to know what you've done and what you haven't done, then that weakness can be a serious problem.
That's absolutely right. And I mean, if it's one of your boss's pet peeves in the reporting status, the more communication, then you better get better at it fast. Because again, their wants, their things aren't always necessarily those items that we think are rational or that are important. And I know that lots of people don't think it's important to report status, but if your boss thinks it is, then it is. And weaknesses are generally, aside from what we would consider to be our core work. Like, for example, it's unlikely that you're going to be hired as a marketing copywriter if your copywriting skills are terrible. It's possible that you could consider the copywriting skills inferior to another strength that you might have, but it's not going to be your actual weakness, the primary focus of your job. Now, on the other hand, punctuality, project management, computer savvy, relationship building, procrastination, attention to detail, or the ability to work on tight deadlines, those could all be issues that are holding a copywriter back. But chances are they're pretty good at the main skill.
Yeah. And the fact that they're ancillary to what we're supposed to, or what we consider to be our role or our primary objective, often means that we think of them as less important. And the problem with that approach is that the weaknesses prevent your strengths from becoming fully realized. So like in physics, I know 2 things about physics. Water finds its own level, and thrust goes forward and drag holds you back. So a car with bad aerodynamics has more drag, and so it doesn't go as fast as the same car with the same engine and better aerodynamics. And that's kind of what weaknesses are. They're bad aerodynamics that are holding you back.
Great analogy.
You could go further, faster if you improve your aerodynamics or mitigate some of these weaknesses.
Absolutely.
And if you're in that car with the bad aerodynamics, it doesn't matter how much you press the accelerator, you're still not going to go as far or as fast as
Right.
if you improve the aerodynamics, right? It doesn't matter. You can keep piling energy into your strengths,
Yes.
but you will never go as far or as fast as if you put a little bit of that energy into stopping the things that are holding you back.
Exactly. Which then takes us into mitigating the risk. So now we've established what our weaknesses are and which of those weaknesses causes the biggest risks to us. Next steps then are to put in place a plan to mitigate our risks. You don't need to put enough energy into this plan that your weakness goes from being detrimental to your strength. It's a waste of energy to put that much effort to turn what you're terrible at into what you're excellent at.
Right. There's no point in you going to French lessons for the next 3 years.
Right. Exactly.
Because it's not going to help you.
Right. I don't need to be fluent in French.
And there's no use me practicing math for the next 3 years when I can get Excel to do it for me.
Exactly. And to improve upon our weaknesses, we simply want to improve upon them enough that the weakness stops being a hindrance. Because then that leaves for us the majority of our energy to pour into our strengths. Our weaknesses probably won't become our strengths. That's okay. We just don't want them to be our weaknesses anymore. That's all.
So even if you're on a performance improvement plan, you don't need to put so much energy in that you turn it around. You just need to meet the goals of the performance improvement plan.
Right.
So for example, we talked earlier about a salesperson who was on a performance improvement plan for not putting their paperwork in, which seems a little minor. But anyway, if the boss has said, if you don't get your stuff on time, you're going to be fired, and the deadline is the 15th, that person doesn't need to work so hard that they put their paperwork in on the 10th.
Right.
They just need to get it in for the 15th.
On time.
Right?
Mhm.
In fact, if you try and put it in, if she worked so hard and put her paperwork in on the 10th just to prove the point, it's counterproductive.
It is.
Because it just pokes your boss in the eye and says, well, I could have done it, but I chose not to. And, I knew it was important and I could have done it, but I chose not to. And so it's just it's not only a waste of energy, it's damaging to the relationship.
And it also sets you up for your boss giving you a new, even tighter deadline. Because now that they've watched you get it in on the 10th, and now they know you're being sassy, they're like, okay, well, now the 10th is the new standard. Because if it's possible once, it's possible every time. I mean, excelling at that works against you, if anything. So here are some examples, guys, of actions that you might take to mitigate some of the more common weaknesses. So punctuality, we'll start there. You could set alarms on your phone 5 minutes before your meetings so you know that you have to log in. And then you can just sit in the room and you can do your emails while you're waiting there.
Alexa tells me 5
Does
minutes
she?
before. Yep, I say, you and I were recording at 3.
I don't know that one.
She's talking. I hear.
And so I have an alarm. I say an alarm at 2:55 so that I'm ready.
Right? It's when the person that will not be named
Yes.
sets alarms for you.
She does.
Right?
Because
yeah.
it's not so much that I'm not good with time. It's that I get
into something.
involved in something,
I
and
know.
then I look and it's 10:02, and the next time I look up, it's 10 past, and I'm like, where did that time go? And now I'm late. So I know that about myself, and so I help myself.
Right? And see, the way I mitigate it is if I look up and I have 20 minutes till the meeting starts, I can work with my headset on.
Yes.
And someone will show up at some point. But I mean, it doesn't matter. I just work in the room. I don't care. That way I don't miss it. Additionally, things you could do, you could create a takeoff spot in your house for the things you need to take with you so that you're not scrambling around. Where are my house keys? Where are my house keys? I can't find my house keys. Having all of your stuff in a single location, which will allow for you to have what you need when you might potentially realize a little too late you need to go. However, we would recommend you double the amount of time that you would normally plan to get somewhere. If you know, okay, based on traffic, it's going to take 15 minutes to get to that appointment. Leave your house 30 minutes before your appointment. Never fail. Every single time I cut it close, I run into traffic, or I run into road construction, or I run into icy conditions, or I run into something that causes issues.
If you're the kind of person who's late a lot, it probably means you don't have a good judgment about how long things take. And so just double it.
Double it. Exactly. Whatever your gut says, double it. You can also use reminders on your calendar and in your email about deadlines. I do that. I mean, I set little things. Don't forget to send Mark X by 3 p.m. I'll put it in my calendar for like 1, or you can set yourself due dates ahead of the deadline if you're bumping up against your deadlines to get your work done. Have colleagues if you're in the office. Hey, I know we have that meeting together at 3 p.m. Could you swing by my desk and grab me on your way?
Yeah.
Things
Find
like that.
somebody who's really good at being punctual and
Right.
get them to pick you up on the way.
Exactly.
Here's another one. So project management. So start a notebook just for your projects. Write down every task with a deadline and create some kind of reminder that you look at it every day.
Right.
Easy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You can talk to your teammate who's good at project management or whatever it may be and ask for tips also, or use a methodology like getting things done.
And people who are good at it love to share their knowledge.
Oh, they do.
Oh, I've got this awesome thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can outsource it to an admin if you have the ability. If you have an admin or there's an admin for your team and it's something you struggle with, then outsource that and then don't have them do something that you're good at. So for some people, it might be that the admin answers all their phone calls. But if you like answering your phone, then you do that bit and she does the tracking of tasks for you, or he. You could use an online course to get better at the software that your company uses for project management.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. For things underneath the topic of weakness in computer savvy, you could just practice mucking around with the programs that you personally struggle with.
Yeah, because you always struggle with it when you're trying to do something. Like I have this deadline, I'm supposed to be submitting this report, and I can't remember how to do X, Y, and Z. So if you put some time aside when it's not stressful to play with it, it's a good time. You can practice, and then it won't be so bad. And if it means submitting something and somebody else is going to receive that and you just want to do it for practice, say to the other person, hey, I'm just practicing. Whatever you see from me today, just ignore it.
Just ignore it. Ignore it. Oh, how about this one? This one's one of my personal favorites. Google your questions before you ask somebody them. And then cause that person to then just go Google them and read to you the words that are on their screen.
It's very frustrating if you're the person who gets asked a lot.
Exactly. Now, that's not to say that if you cannot figure out your answer, you ought to ask your colleague who has a lot of computer savvy and knows the tips and tricks to help you, as I do with Wendy all of the time.
And a lot of the time, what other people ask me, because I'm fairly good at that stuff, is 2 minutes to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, if you do this and this, it'll be fine. And so a lot of the time, it doesn't take a lot of effort for me to explain it. Sometimes it does, but most of the time it doesn't. So it doesn't bother me to be asked. You can join a forum for programs that you struggle with. There are plenty of forums of people, there's, I use a program called Scrivener for writing content, and it's fairly complicated, but there's a very good forum with lots of people who will answer the stupidest question. It's really good for me. And if there's a program that you're using that has lots of shortcuts, then you just print the shortcuts map and put it on your desk so you can look at it until you let your fingers learn where things are.
Folks, we get questions all the time about when we're going to have our next effective communication conference. We tend to have them less often than the effective manager conference because that one gets so much interest and it takes 4 sessions, whereas a virtual effective communication conference can be done in 1 session. Our next virtual ECC is May 25th, just about a month from now, if you're listening in the week that this podcast dropped. I hope you'll attend. It's probably my favorite training to present. We've won awards for the structure of it, and it will teach you the most important thing I've learned in my professional life. outside of honor and duty. And that is communication is what the listener does. I hope you'll join us.
All right. Then taking us on to the next weakness, which is in relationship building. We'd recommend that you set targets for yourself. So a target of the number of interactions with someone with whom you do not have a relationship. So say to yourself, I'm going to make sure I reach out to this person 2 times per week and set yourself that goal.
Which might just mean I'm going to phone them instead of emailing, or I'm going to walk past their desk instead of emailing them, or I'm going to walk past their desk when I go for coffee and just say hi. That might, like an interaction doesn't need to be a full-on conversation or something about something. It can be a replacement for something else, or it can just be saying hi, especially if it's someone who you have a difficult relationship with. You possibly avoid talking to them or avoid interacting with them.
Which makes it worse.
So forcing yourself to do it is helpful, but you might want to make it very small, like walk past and say hi when you're making coffee, or say, hey, I'm going to the break room. Do you want a coffee?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Another one then, write down the things that you know about them. So like family, history, personal interests, hobbies, things like that. And then review it before you talk to them. Actually, I had a gentleman at one of my in-person conferences in, I want to say, Washington, D.C. Feels like a million years ago now. He had just in his Apple Notes on his iPhone, he just had a note for all of his directs and, more importantly, all of his directs, so that if he was going into a meeting with those people, he could just pull up the Apple Notes for them and review it quick.
Nice.
So that he remembered their spouse's name, or like those tidbits of information that he'd gathered through conversations. And then, I mean, it's not unusual while 2 professionals are talking during a conversation, if they're like, hey, yeah, no, my spouse, Rebecca, and he could just poke around on your phone, just like add that person's name. It's on your phone.
And some of us do this stuff naturally, and some of us need help. And that's the whole point of this mitigation thing. It's not a bad thing that you don't do it naturally.
Right.
But if it's a problem for you, then you just need to find the things that help you.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have to ask someone who you don't have a good relationship with to do something for you, then say, how can I help? So I had a job where I had to submit security paperwork. And what would happen was I'd submit the security paperwork, and the person who I didn't have a very good relationship with would review it and say, you did all that wrong, and send it back to me.
Perfect.
So I got smart after a while. So what I would do is I would take it to her before I submitted it, and I'd say, hey, this is what I have so far. Can you just tell me what else I need? Or I would say, I need to get this through by Friday. What can I do to help you help me do it?
Right.
So instead of just asking for things, like try and be an equal partner in achieving it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Follow up on conversations. Try and remember to ask them if they had a nice vacation, if they've been on vacation. And if you have to write it down to remember, that's okay. I do too.
I mean, I just did this today, actually. There was a gentleman in one of my virtual public effective remote manager conferences recently. And he had said in that session, yeah, I'll be going on vacation with my family. And then today he just sent a note. And he's like, hey, I found this really cool thing online. I thought that might be interesting. So I asked, how was your vacation? I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I mean, I can't remember where he said they went. It was a group of folks in a conference, but I know that he went on vacation. So I just asked. And for relationship building, be determined to be pleasant at all costs. And then reward yourself for positive interactions.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Chocolate goes a long way.
Right? Chocolate goes a long way. Did you see that person that I didn't think I had a great relationship with smiled at me today? Oh, you know I'm having chocolate.
Yeah. And a lot of these are A, simple, but B, this isn't the gamut of everything. This is some suggestions for some topics. There's a million other ones. So we've got 3 more of these.
We do.
So let's go a bit faster.
All right.
So the next one is procrastination. Not that anybody knows anything about procrastination. So you could break the task into smaller, more doable tasks and do a little bit each day. You can use the Mel Robbins trick, which is say 3, 2, 1 and just start. You can set a time on your calendar to do the task, and I'm doing the task at this time. I'm not doing anything else. You can have someone hold you accountable. If there's somebody in your team that you really go on with, say, I have to do this report. Keep asking me. No? Tell someone else when you'll have it done. So you tell your boss, I'll have it to you by close of business. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, it becomes a lot easier.
It becomes a lot easier and a lot more urgent to you, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Forbid distractors until you've done the task. So turn off everything else, right. Or tell people you're going to be away from your desk for an hour and you're going to be off instant message, and then turn your phone over. Or shut the door and tell everyone, don't disturb me. If you work in an office, go to an empty conference room with your laptop. That's a really good way to hide from people.
Close the tab that has your email open on it. Don't look at your new messages. You don't need to see them.
Yeah, an hour will be fine. Mm-hmm. And then reward yourself when it's done.
Of course. Chocolate. Yay. All right. That takes us then to weakness in attention to detail. So we'd have you complete the task further ahead and give yourself more time to check it over thoroughly. Don't wait up until the due date to have it completed 2 hours in advance, so you have time to review it. You could also ask a colleague to check it over for you, be your second set of eyes to catch the things that you can't see for the trees. We'd have you create a list of common errors that you have been prone to in past and create a checklist from it so that you can look for these 15, 10 things that you normally mess up, and you can check them before you finalize submission of that work.
So you submit it or you create it, and then you look at it the next day, and then you look at it again the next day and again the next day, and then you submit it.
We'd suggest that you create work and then go back a few times day after day to make sure that you've looked for those errors prior to actually submitting it, right? Sleep on it. Get a fresh set of eyes the next day. You might not have somebody to pass that work product by if it's security, what have you, but sleep on it and come back at it when your brain is more clear. And then use the tools that we've been given, right? We've got spell check and grammar check. There's Grammarly, all of the other automated correctors that have been developed for us. Leverage those where you can.
Okay, last one, ability to work to tight deadlines. So you can give yourself an artificially tight deadline and work to it, on something that's not urgent, pretend it is and see how fast you can go. Create a list of issues that you have in certain situations and think about how you can mitigate them. You can ask for help from your colleagues. You can ask a colleague who's really good in a crisis how they do it. How do you stay so calm? Right. If part of the stress is your brain goes all wonky when you're stressed, which mine does too.
Science.
You can use breathing techniques or meditation to learn to control your
yoga. Things
thoughts.
Like that will help.
Right. When I was at school, we practiced exam conditions. So they would walk us into the room where we were going to do our examinations, and they'd give us a practice sheet, and they would have a time, and they would have silence, and you had to follow all the rules about what you could have on your desk, so that the day we actually did our exams, that space felt natural to us, and we concentrated on what we were actually writing.
The environment wasn't a stressor. It's awesome.
Yeah. So if it's something in your job where something will come up and it's a really tight deadline, you can practice that environment so that your brain's like, okay, I know what to do. And then you can concentrate on what you're actually trying to achieve rather than, oh my gosh,
right?
I'm freaking out.
Mm-hmm. And as Wendy mentioned, guys, these are by far not the only techniques that you can use, but hopefully they'll give you some ideas. It's a starting point. It's a jump off from point. And for many issues, keep in mind, there's probably a podcast for that, which I think you heard us say multiple times. There are definitely podcasts for these things. And if you've got a weakness that we've not listed, don't hesitate to leverage our community. A minute ago, we mentioned forums, the forum that you use for that writing software that you use, Wendy. We have at Manager Tools forums on our website, manager-tools.com. Go there. There's tons of really smart managers that think through these things as well, and they will help you with more ideas.
There is no point in trying to turn your weaknesses into strengths. As the old thing goes, rabbits don't need swimming lessons. But if they're holding you back, then it's worth the effort to try and mitigate them.
Exactly.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Wendy.
That's all for this week. We'll be back next week with a new topic.